It's going to be a good year, Tater.
Sup, taters?
Sup, Taters? Can Vandal here. Man, it is a brand new year, 2023, and I'm excited to be here and be a part of it. Now, like most of you, I too have tried to make some resolutions. I mean, one of my resolutions was I'm going to make a resolutions to stop all the bad habits that I've been doing this past year. But the problem is, I'm no quitter. So I made it simple. This year, I'm just going to read more. In fact, every time I cut on a fishing video, I'm going to cut the subtitles on. But this year, I do hope all of your troubles last about as long as your resolutions. Now, with this being the first video of the new year, I could not think of a better way to start than by talking about tips to improve your accuracy. But before we begin, if you have not subscribed to the channel, why don't you start this new year right by subbing to the channel? All you got to do is go down below, hit that sub button. While you're down there, if you like the content, hit that like button, and don't forget to hit the bell notification so you can get everything that I'm putting out, because Can Vandal's putting out. And with that said, let's get to the video. If you were to ask any enthusiast what is one of the major keys to accuracy, they would say a clean release. And I agree with that. It's imperative that you develop a clean release in order to be an optimal marksman when it comes to slingshot shooting. Now, when it comes to developing the perfect release, there are a plethora of videos out there on YouTube and other platforms that can aid you in doing this. And if you watch a couple of them, you'll see that there are some common things that we all agree on that if you'll do, you can perfect a pretty good, if not perfect, release. Now, for the sake of time, I'm going to go over these basic fundamentals real quickly. Let me get some ammo. I got some 5/16 here, and today I am using my Scout LT for my demonstration. This is probably one of the best frames that you can ever lay your hands on. If you don't have one, I'll put a link in the description where you can get hold of one of these. But let's get to the fundamentals that we all agree on. Now, as far as the fundamentals, I can't say that word. Fundamentals. Fun, dumb, and mental. Now, when you start watching videos on how to get a clean release, you'll notice there basically are three fundamentals that if you'll do, I promise you, you will develop a clean release. And real quickly, I'm going to go over those. One, you want to make sure, I'm going to get a little closer here, you want to make sure that your pouch ends, see these ends right here? You want to make sure they're lined up when you pull back. They've got to be lined up. Number two, you want to pinch on top of the ammo, not in front of the ammo. And thirdly, what's the third one? Oh, yes. You want to make sure that when you draw back, see this knuckle? You want to make sure that knuckle is down. Make sure the knuckle's down. So basically, it looks like that. But what I want to talk about today is the very nemesis of a clean release, and that is a speed bump. Now, yes, what is a speed bump? When it comes to slingshots, a speed bump is when your ammo drops below the bone line of your finger. And upon release, it rides that bone line and causes a jump. This is something you'll want to avoid. But the good news is, it is totally avoidable. Now, there are some shooters that have perfected the release, and if that's you, don't change nothing. Remember, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But if you are struggling with the speed bump, here are some additional tips that you can try to help overcome that dreaded speed bump and have a clean release. Ow, God, itching. I got a back itch. Crap. Got a back itch. Oh. Itches. Holy crap. Ow. Oh. God, it feels good. Yeah. Okay. All right, number one, try a positional pouch or a pit pouch. Now, a positional pouch or a pit pouch is just that. It's a pouch with a pit. It looks something like that. You see that? See the two pouches right there, the two pits? That's where your ammo rests. Versus a standard pouch with something like this that doesn't have that. Now, the reason I say try a positional pouch or a pit pouch if you're struggling with a speed bump is because on a traditional pouch, when you put the ammo in and you pinch on top of the ammo, you have a lot, you got a pretty good bump there. You see how easy it is to slide in front of that ammo? It's very easy. But you take that same piece of ammo, put this in my pocket, and you put it inside of a positional pouch. Watch the difference. See how flat that is? It's very flat. There's very little to pinch in front of. Now, I've been using positional pouches for the last 2 years, and I can tell you, when I started using them, I saw a tremendous difference in my release. I would tell anybody, if you are struggling with a speed bump, try a positional pouch. It's a game changer. All right, the number 2 tip, rough side out. Now, with a lot of pouches on the market today, as far as your standard pouches, they come with 2 sides. They have a shiny side and they have a rough side. Now, as to which side goes out, it's preference. But if you are struggling with a speed bump, you want to perfect your release, I would highly advise putting that rough side out. Now, the reason I would say put the rough side out if you're struggling with a speed bump is because, especially on a hot day, your hands will get sweaty. And thus, your pouch will get sweaty also. And what's going to happen, especially the longer you shoot, in order to get a sweaty pouch back, your hands, your fingers rather, are going to want to tend to drop in front of that ammo. And that's what causes that speed bump. So we want to avoid that at all costs. But by putting that rough side out, you've got more to grip on when your hands get sweaty, and you're less likely to drop in front of that ammo. So if you don't have a pit pouch and you're using standard pouches, put that rough side out if you're struggling with the speed bump. I promise it'll make a difference. And the final tip is go lighter. I have talked about this subject many times on my channel. You will never go wrong by going lighter. One of the things I have noticed with new shooters is that they think resistance equals speed. That is far from the truth. Speed has little, if anything, to do with resistance, but everything to do with retraction. A lot of times what I see on the range is absolute overkill for what you're trying to accomplish. Now, I see this all the time with new shooters, and the reason I can spot it is because I used to do it too. I used to believe that resistance equaled speed. And so I would go to the range, even if it was just a 10-meter shooting session, and I would get the most robust taper that I can get. And I'd be out there just muscling that thing back, and before long, my shots just started going everywhere. Why? Because the more I shot it, the more tendency I had to go in front of that ammo, because it was getting more difficult to pull back the longer I shot. So I would tell anybody, go lighter. Experiment until you find a taper that gives you less resistance and more retraction. Because again, all you got to do is hit the target, not shoot through it. So to avoid that speed bump, another tip is to go lighter. All right, I hope you'll find these tips to be very helpful and very useful. Again, if what you're doing is working, don't change anything. But if you are struggling with that speed bump, try these tips and let me know how it works out. Taters, I'm looking forward to what this year is going to bring, and I want you to come along with me. So be sure to subscribe, and I think that's going to wrap it up. So until we meet again, be kind to each other. Get out there and bust some cans. We'll see you next time. Later, Tater.